Hello everybody, welcome along to the JACKOCAR Cup Series here for Season 6, Round 16, here at Texas for the final round of the playoffs and of course the chase. Today we decide the last 4 out of our 5 Championship 5 drivers, and I tell you what, it's going to be an incredibly close, incredibly tense night. I am your commentator Owen White, with me is Jack Ricketts, and after last week, where we had all sorts of drama going on in its own little way, it wasn't exactly a classic in Canada, but it set us up so well for this. Corey winning his first race of the season. What are we expecting tonight?
That was a very sprightly intro from you, Mr. White. Good evening, everyone. What are we expecting tonight? Well, it's an elimination race, so you're guaranteed drama. Canada might have let us down a tiny little bit, which means surely they're all saving it for Texas and ultimately race 100 Miami next week. But who knows, Owen, we can only deal with what happens in front of us, can't we? Unfortunately, we were struck earlier today with the news SD Mats will not be participating tonight, so that chase gap that was -1 is actually -4 between Corey and Yuri. So we've still got that to look forward to. And of course, Casper in a must-win situation in the playoffs.
Yeah, that really annoyed me that Christian Ataro not racing tonight, because obviously we saw it all fall apart in Mexico when he deliberately crashed himself out, had a race ban for it in Canada, and what he says he prefers to be a spectator for JACKOCAR rather than racing it in this situation, which I find utterly crazy because we've been waiting for him to win the race. He did that in the chase brilliantly. We've been waiting for him to go for the championship, and it was a really big chance for him to do so. But what that does allow us to do is it allows us to sit here looking at a situation where it could be Corey or it could be Yuri from the chase, and I think either of those two would fully deserve to be in. And who knows, if you get a little bit of drama, it could even be Pete or MK Bourne, so that's going to be very exciting down there. But of course in the playoffs we've also got Ben Shaw through, Kieran essentially through, let's be honest, he's through, and then Jamie Wright, Jacob Sullivan, Leroy Haslager and Casper Klein. They're all basically going to be the ones fighting this one out tonight. Obviously Casper in a must-win situation, but 6 points just separate Jamie in 3rd and Leroy in 5th, so there's a lot that's going to be happening here.
There is, and of course Jamie looking at or eyeing up his 4th Championship 5 appearance, isn't he? Just quickly then, Owen, before we get going, the changes tonight. Thomas Nevitt, we are expecting to see him join midway through qualifying. Michel Goris as well is back, and we have lost obviously Esti, who we've touched upon, and Tez Peakstock, race winner from Austria, is not here. Stage points are lap 7 and lap 14. There are no more jokers, so that is it for the end of for the rest of the season. No jokers now, all the way through until season 7. Would you believe? Next year, February next year, because we confirmed the dates earlier this week. And the first cars are appearing on track. It's Connor and not Corey, for a change, because of that win that Corey finally got in Mexico.
I know, what a bizarre situation.
Canada, should I say.
What a bizarre situation to see Connor out of the pits first. It means you get to enjoy the purple livery once again. It's been a fan favourite, for me anyway, since day one, all the way back in Australia season 1. Nearly won that race, and unfortunately finds himself quite low in the championship. He's not bottom anymore. He's got himself in front of Sullivan Lewis last week, and he actually was having one of his best runs last week of the whole season, so good to see Connor on a little bit of form. He'll be hoping he can take that forward into next season. But yeah, like I say, this is going to be a very intense race tonight, because we've seen Texas before. I recall last season we had essentially it was a must-win situation for Jamie Wright. He's in Casper's situation. He made it happen because there was an accident on the restart, which I believe actually did involve Corey and possibly Arnaud as well, and it caused all sorts of chaos. And so I'm wondering how much of the drivers sort of were watching last season's race and know what to expect as Connor comes around the final corner. Let's see how he can get himself around this track.
And you can be absolutely sure that Casper's ART buddies will try and help him out and get that win to advance to the Championship 5. But Owen White, as we approach turn 1, take us for a lap around Austin, Texas.
That run down the hill there that Connor's just gone through is actually quite tricky on the throttle, and you can see that he wasn't fully confident to go full throttle. And obviously we've seen a few drivers having to go down from full traction to medium traction at various points this season, which may well make that a tricky zone, particularly on the race start and on safety car restarts. But as Connor gets himself through the end of the first sector, he's kept it nice and clean. He doesn't want to risk any of the track limits. I would expect to see the front runners properly going for it through there, as Connor gets himself towards one of the longest straights in this season, and probably the main point of overtaking tonight. DRS all the way down, because we know what the last sector's like here. It's quite a tricky one. I actually find out a lot of people hate the last sector of Kota. I was always actually a fan of it, because you get a lot of sort of back and forth racing. You can always do a good switchback. We saw Vettel and Magnussen in a real life race here going for it properly through here, and I'm wondering how many of the drivers tonight will be able to take inspiration. Interesting braking zone here, because you ignore that first apex and you cut in to the inside as you head towards the Turkey inspired triple right-hander, even though Turkey's was a left-handed quadruple left-hander, which is nothing like this. So I don't really know why they keep saying it's inspired by that, but I've joined the party as Connor comes into the final corner now, taking the official line rather than the IndyCar line, and seeing himself nearly go off the road as he clocks in at 1 minute 34.4.
Yep, that is a time that will be beaten. 34.4 is not the most competitive, but Connor struggling a little bit on traction throughout that lap as we now move to an American-inspired risky racer.
I have a feeling we'll see a few of these tonight.
Mr. Lewis's American cousin racing up to the line then in the 37 car, and that is immediately beating Connor's time of 34.3. So next up, Corey Dalton,
we catch him
leader.
We catch him quite early on his lap as well, which is good to see, because, well, based on what we've seen in recent races, this could well be a pole position time. And saying that he's not even gone first this time, he'll have a slightly better track sort of grip to go off of here. And this will be possibly the lap of the session. So we're going to keep our eye on this one as he heads himself down the back straight. Obviously the winner in Canada and the leader of the chase. Hard to imagine we would have found him in this situation, because we saw so many times it looked like he'd have a chance to get himself a race win, and it always falls apart. And no matter what happened, it looked like it wasn't going to happen, but now it has happened, and he only has to survive one more race to get into the Championship 5. Now, I saw a yellow flag for a black liveried car. I think it might have been risky, because I was just going to check it wasn't Pete. Luckily it isn't. He's on the lap next after Corey as he heads through the right-hander. Now, should be easy flat on this one, although we have seen in the K-Series race a few drivers spinning off through there. I believe in Leroy, the race leader at that point in that race, was one of them. And so we'll need to keep our eye on that one tonight, as Corey comes up to the line and does go fastest by nearly a second. Let's see if that time holds.
So that's a 33.4. I don't know what we're expecting tonight. Pete gets a bit of a slipstream off of risky there down into turn 12, but yeah, I'm not sure what we are expecting in terms of pole position time. So obviously Corey would be a good shout, but I feel like we might maybe sneak into the 32s when we get into the playoff drivers. Pete Knighton, by the way, coming into this minus 17, so has it all to do. Minus 17 for reference is a third place finish with the playoff point and maybe a stage win as well, so we'll know surely by the first half of the race whether he's going to do it or not. But up to the line then comes Mr. Knighton, and he goes P2.
Half a second though off of the pace, and well, it needs a miracle for either him or for MK Bourne to sneak in to their second Championship 5 respectively. They were both there in Season 1. Of course Pete won the title that day. MK Bourne ended up in the pit wall. Very contrasting sort of situations for those two, and one that we're never going to let either of them forget. And MK Bourne invalidates 2 corners to go. Let's see what time he would have clocked anyway though, as he's nearly at the line. It would have been slowest anyway, but still not the way you want to start a very important day in the season, as we then see Jess, who, well, was through to the Championship 5 in the K-Series, but as Jacko thrillingly announced to me earlier on, he's actually now in to the Championship 5 for Kia, which means we don't have to deal with him in the commentary box next week, me and Gareth.
That's a dream, isn't it?
I know.
I will say it's not nice to get into the Championship 5 like that in the Kia Series. You know, me, Jess, and Lesty all on 2,038 points, and you know, just because I had a P3 in Austria is what did it for me, because obviously me and Jess both had a race win. But yeah, I had that P3, so it's unfortunate that Jess won't be contending for the Championship 5 in Kia Series, but she will. That's actually quite a poor lap, actually.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
She must have had a moment somewhere. I expect a lot better from Jess, but yeah, she will be back next season to have another go at a Championship 5 run.
And here is OKK, another one of those drivers, actually, I didn't mention who was on minus 17. It's him, Pete, and MK Bourne. And OKK, this is a big season of what if. We'll never let him forget Silverstone, of course, but there was various other moments in the season where it looked like it could have been happening for him. And, you know, the potential's been there. And I suppose this is almost... and this is the problem. It's the spinning. He can't stop spinning round. I reckon, honestly, if he gets himself a decent run of form next season where he can keep the car pointing in a straight line, he could be Championship 5 bound again, but... not if he keeps doing that. It's a shame to see a lap go down the bin like that, but at least he's kept it valid.
He has, and clearly one of Kylie Minogue's biggest fans is Michael O'Keke. With all these spins he's had this season, shout out to those of you who get the reference. It won't be very popular in Owen's ears, I know that much. Final corner then for OKK. It won't be competitive. It'll actually be slowest on the board.
By a long way.
1 minute 39.9. So next up, Owen Wyatt is somebody else who could have quite easily had numerous race wins. Knocking on the door, Ben Harrott. Already at the end of his lap, so we'll continue here. 33.4 to beat. He won't do that. It'd be a 34.5 though, about where you would expect him. But his race pace is much better than that.
And this will be an interesting lap then. Let's see how close Yuri can get himself to Corey. Obviously, I would have thought Yuri would be the slower driver out of himself and Corey, but we know what Corey's like if he finds himself in a little bit of traffic. Obviously, Canada went perfectly fine last week, but Yuri also had a decent result as well. I believe he finished on the podium, so he, you know, he's there to point if anything goes wrong as he heads into the final corner. It will not go fastest, but it should be near enough. It's third place for now. Not the end of the world. And Thomas Nevitt did make it into the session, did make it onto the track, which is good to say.
That's right, he's done really well there actually. Thomas Nevitt, by the way, becomes the 75th driver in the Cup Series in our 99th race. I don't think we'll be seeing any more new Cup Series drivers this season, so this is the last one. It's Thomas Nevitt. What can he do then? He was meant to race earlier in the season, but connection issues let him down. And through the turn 8 reverse then of Turkey, which is one corner short of being turn 8, but Owen's already covered that one. Takes more of an IndyCar line and keeps it valid, of course, perfectly in the rules. You can exploit track limits in qualifying. Has a moment in the final corner, runs over the little yellow bump, and goes P7 for now. So like Jess and like OKK, he had his moments on that lap, but it is his debut nonetheless, coming up from the Kia Series.
Oh, look at that for a toe from Michel Goriti. You'll be loving that from Yuri as he heads down the back straight. And decently raced for Michel on Tuesday. Obviously, didn't quite work out for him in terms of getting into the Championship 5, I don't believe, because he was just happening to be finishing 1-2 with the driver that he was fighting with, Danny Quinn, that day. It was, like I say, a brilliant race. I know it just spoiled it completely, but you should watch it anyway after this one, the Kia Series race.
A good race.
It was probably one of the best races I've seen in this league. I mean, me and Gareth, we were glued to the battle for 9th. When the top 3 were separated by a second, that's just what the type of race it was. It was absolutely incredible stuff. And Michel had a very good performance. No Challenger 5 from him, though, but certainly good potential, possibly to be racing here next season. And that qualifying time certainly would give him a good case to be full-timer, and a competitive one at that.
Absolutely. Owen, did you and Gareth know I had diffuser damage out of interest before we speak about Jamie Griffiths?
I think I might have suggested that you did, because I was on board, I think, with you when the contact happened, and I saw you get hit at the back. I was saying, did he have rear wing damage or something? We sort of forgot at the end, but I think I mentioned it as it happened, so that doesn't really surprise me.
There was a right old train behind me, I can tell you that much, and sure enough, it worked out in my favour in the end. Jamie Griffiths to the line, P8, 34.5. Very poor from him. He's normally a much better qualifier. Up next then, Jordan Lane, another one of those drivers. Will he get a win? When will he get a win? He deserves a win, and if you go by what he said at the start of the season, he's only got tonight and next week left before he retires, but I think that's a load of rubbish. He'll be back in Season 7 of the Cup Series when we get going again in February.
Well, he's near enough being an ever-present, hasn't he? We'd be ashamed to lose him.
P9 then for Jordan. He was there
first,
Season 1.
Our first chase winner.
He was. Mid-season joinee. Next up is our good mate, Gareth Hall. We'll be seeing a lot of over the next week.
Yeah, you're going to be sick of him by the time we're finished with him. And that's if you're not already sick of us two. I can't imagine what all three of us in the commentary box is going to be like again. Obviously, Gareth joined us in the commentary box here, actually, for the first time in Season 4's Championship 5. A dramatic time that was indeed. And, cool. Yeah, very much looking forward to having him in again. And obviously, if you want to hear more of me and Gareth, then we do the Kia series, and so we'll have to keep plugging that one because it's got itself very exciting Championship 5 itself coming up on Tuesday. But as Gareth heads round, a decent season for him. Obviously, it fell away, even though there was plenty of race fixing going on to try and keep him in it as long as possible. Hopefully next season he'll get the Silverstone victory that he deserved and maybe get through there by slightly less dodgy means.
Gareth still sits 4th in the points as well overall as he goes P10, but naturally not a good qualifier. It's all in the races for him.
Yeah.
So now then, one of the drivers who can be eliminated then. Jake O'Sullivan, Cadgeman, last season's champion, 2 race wins this season. Can he get through to a second consecutive Championship 5? Can he get it done in Miami? He's done it in Saudi Arabia, but he's got to do it in Texas first.
Well, if he's anywhere like how good he was last week, I know Corey beat him, but he went from, 18th to 2nd in the end to Jake. And again, a driver that keeps going under the radar, but having really good results. And, definitely a driver who deserves to be in the Championship 5 for the second season in a row. And it'd be great to see the reigning champion, of course, make it as he heads himself round, again, the fake turkey corner. I hate this corner, but I like the rest of Sector 3. It's the only bit that I don't like. I think it's the only bit that everyone else does like. It's a weird one. But yeah, certainly a much more consistent, much more confident season for Jake. And as he comes to the line, it's going to be close, but not close enough to beating Corey. So as I said, that time, again, is sticking. And I'm telling you what, that'll be a little bit ominous, seeing this happening on a more consistent basis for Corey being right up at the front. What a time, like I say, to hit form. And as you said last week, form, it doesn't happen for all that often in this league just because of how random it is. So you've got to pick your moments. And as it stands, Corey's picking his perfectly.
Yeah. Well, put it this way, we've had 11 different race winners in a row in the Cup Series. That shows you how much use form is to you. As we look at Leroy, who comes into this -4 to Jake O'Sullivan, who you've just seen. Driver behind Leroy is Casper, who is in a must-win situation. So it's very much the battle of Leroy and Jake and Jamie, which will be following closely tonight. He goes P5, does Leroy. Already Championship 5 bound in the Kia Series. He was the first one to make it that. But it still has work to do in the Cup Series. Not
brilliant pace from Casper, who's obviously back on the wheel, I believe, now this week. This is really the must-win for him. And he's not going to be anywhere near the front with a qualifying lap, so it's going to be all down to the race for him. He's going to be the driver to watch tonight because he really will have to put everything on the table to try and get this championship home. And look at this. Kieran has a normal looking livery this week. This is very strange. I'm not entirely sure if this is the same guy we're used to seeing. I wonder if it'll bring him some pace.
He also is the only speed driver not running what I assume is the Speed American livery this week. So he's defied team orders.
That's a sacking if I've ever seen one.
He's gone for normal over teamwork. Let's see where Kieran will put himself. Comes into this +17. And P2 he will quite happily take. 2 drivers to go then. Jamie Wright, your 2-time champion, won his second championship here. And then Ben Shaw a little bit later on.
and saying he won his second championship here, that does not tell the whole story.
No, it does not.
I'd say actually his performance here last season was more impressive than that championship win because realistically he had no right ever winning that thing. It all happened in the last sector of the last lap when again speed race fixing went a bit wrong.
The moment we've just seen actually. Kieran spun there. That was
Not on purpose, obviously.
One of those moments, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I tried to bring myself back in contention.
Oh, I'm doing my
oh
best.
really?
The wall just
Jamie then.
appeared.
Around the final corner, Jamie Wright, P1 for now, 4/10 clear of Yori. There's only one man who can beat that.
And look at
And he's
him.
heading into turn 12, Owen.
What a livery this is. That's probably the best of the speed offerings. I'm sure Jacko actually won't be too happy to hear that because it is the only purple variant. But well.
Yori's is the best. Yori's is the best.
I tell you what though, this is a fastest middle sector. And the purple, well, it matches the car, doesn't it? And maybe it's the best way to describe his season so far. He has been the dominant force, really, in this whole sort of playoffs. He never looked like he was going to drop out at any point. He's obviously the only driver who is through into the Championship 5. And he is the back-to-back regular season champion is Ben Shaw. So as he comes from the final corner, can he get up in front of Jamie? No, not quite. Not as good in the final sector. And so it's Jamie Wright on pole and Ben Shaw second. And crucially, it'll be Corey Dalton in third place. That is, well, if he just stays there, he will do the job because he has got 7 places on his main rival, who is Yuri. But as we know, when he's not straight away in P1, that's when it gets a bit tricky for Corey. And that's where we're going to have to see exactly what he's made of, because he has to keep his nose clean this week.
He does, because Yuri is more than capable of outscoring Yuri. Yuri's more than capable of outscoring Corey, I should say. That's going to be annoying this entire race. Jamie Wright, by the way, picks up his 3rd pole of the season, his 14th all-time, but more importantly, the playoff point for that one is absolutely huge for him. Now
it is, yeah.
It puts him +7 rather than +6. Here's the grid.
And this is it then. It's Jamie on pole from Iceman, Corey, Kieran, Jake, Michelle Goris, Pete, Leroy. You'll have a lot of work to do from there, as will Casper and Yori. So it's at 8, 9, 10. Got to be keeping your eye on those 3 throughout this race. Risky, Connor, Ben, Jimmy Griffiths, Jordan, Gareth, Thomas Nevitt on debut, beating Jess, OKK and MK Bourne. But yeah, it's brilliant that Leroy, Casper, Yuri, they're right next to each other. That is going to be fireworks.
Absolutely. And cumulative total between first and second of season rises to 2.4 seconds. As we've kept everybody up to date with that one.
Yeah, it was a very impressive stat until Monza.
Until we started following
Until we
it.
started using it, yeah. That's how these things work, isn't it, sometimes? But we are here on the grid, and I'm looking forward to this one because there will be a lot on the line, and there'll be a lot of tension out there. Jamie Wright will be praying, really, that he gets off the line well and doesn't get into any sort of accidents, Carlos Sainz style. Because if you have any George Russells steaming at the inside of that turn 1, everyone's at risk, and it's the widest turn 1 of the season, and it's a properly uphill braking zone, so you can send it, but it tightens up so much on the exit, and that is where, let's say, we'll see the accidents happen. So no jokers as well. Joker would let you do only 1 mandatory stop, but everyone will have to do the 2 mandatory stops. Safety car pit stops, of course, do not count towards those, and so that'll be also something to think about as we get ready for the formation lap.
Yeah, as I said earlier, stage is lap 7 and lap 14. This is the last time that stage points are actually counted for this season. Of course, they don't have any value in the Championship 5. And also, Owen, it's race number 99 of 100 in the Cup Series.
Yes, of course, we must make it clear that we're not stopping after 100, which is how Jacko's made that sound, unless I'm about to be fired, which I could do with not happening. Mind you, I don't get paid anymore, to be fair, so you can send me all you like.
No. Sorry, you got 3 things to do for me. It's 2 races and 1, the other thing, you know.
Yeah.
We're still keeping that on quiet.
As Gareth, well, he's got himself disqualified. That's not exactly the quickest way to the commentary box, unfortunately. You still have to race, Gareth. But yeah, the tyres then. All of the top 14 and OKK are starting on the softs, the rest on the mediums. And so that makes it simple enough because all of the championship contenders are on the same tyre. And it means that we can see how they all get on. throughout the early stages of this race at the very least. And I'm telling you what as well, the way the conditions are here, this is one of the most notorious tracks for the sun getting in the way of braking zones. I remember back, as far back as F1 2018, people would always insist that the time of day gets changed. I'm sure the drivers would be loving that now, but of course this is an intentional change to make it worse for them. Although I'm sure you definitely didn't intend for this to happen, but I'm sure you're not complaining either, Jacko.
Nothing wrong with the evening sunset in Texas, is there? I'm not hearing any complaints.
I'm sure
not.
you might after the race when a mysterious brake failure happens and you said, I couldn't see the car in front.
That sounds like someone else's problem, which we'll worry about later on should we need to. As I don't know about you, Owen, I'm just watching Jess and Thomas come round in the final sector. Thomas on his debut.
Oh, there's a spin.
There's a spinner. Yeah,
that'll be
you saw
Jimmy.
that.
Well, that's a good way to warm your tyres up. It's Yori's trick. Speaking of which, you probably should be having a look at him. Because I keep getting told to watch him, because obviously he will spin at some point. Even though it could mess up his grid spot and be really, really, really stupid, he, for some reason, thinks it is appropriate to do this on a formation lap.
Just waiting for it. It's going to happen, isn't it?
Look at me, he's giving himself some room now, look.
By the way, where he just was when he stopped is where the restart zone is. Kieran spinning in the distance. It just seems to be a team speed thing, doesn't it?
I'll watch him not do it now.
You watch, other leagues will have this banned before too long, but we'll allow it for now because it doesn't cause any harm.
Well, he's let me down. Thanks for that one. As we get the last car into position, and well, for the 99th time in the Cup Series, we have 5 lights on, and the biggest run up to turn 1 in this season. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Eventually. Come on. Let's go racing. Who gets the best start? Jimmy looks relatively okay. How much will he defend if anyone has to go with him? As Corey moves up alongside Iceman into that wide turn 1. Oh, there's contact nearly between him and Michel Goris, who's up to 4th place, making a decent run through the field already. But it looks relatively clean at the front. Yuri and Casper making moves, and they're actually fighting away with Leroy as well. They've all got to be careful as Leroy moves up into 5th place. He's got to keep moving with Jake in 8th place. That would be getting close to where he needs to be, but he's got to keep moving.
Yep, 2 things I've noticed on that start there is Kieran forced wide by Casper and Leroy fighting side by side through the Silverstone section. Here comes Jake down the inside of Kieran. Will he get that move done? Looks like he will. Locking up under braking, but we'll have the traction on the exit, and also Iceman will have absolutely no issue with Jamie leading and dominating this thing, as I'm sure Iceman would like Jamie on a wheel-based track in the championship next week. And Kieran having another look at Jake further down the field for P7. Didn't quite manage to get one back through. Good defence from Jake. Owen White.
Yep, all fair from Jake, who, like I say, he honestly just needs to keep his cool. As long as he has Leroy in sight, that will be all that he needs to do to keep himself safe. But Casper, he needs to see no one in front of him. He's got 5 cars to overtake throughout the course of this race, and there's already one going very wide indeed of Michel Goris. Now, what's happened there? I thought he might have had contact at turn 1, but I don't think that's what's caused that. I said the rear of the car can be a bit loose through there, as we see a lot of pitters on the first lap. Of course, no one on a Joker, so they're all going to have to go for those mandatory 2 stops. And with the track screen at the end of that one, it's traditionally the best time to be making those first stops.
It does seem to be a JACKOCAR staple now, doesn't it? We might have to ban this for next season. Ugh. As we see 9 cars in. Is it 9? It's 10. So
10,
half the field
yes.
Stay in, or half the field stay out, and the other half carry on their merry way. Michel Goris leads the race. Not for much longer.
Oh, wow.
Jake O'Sullivan goes through. And Jake does this. He likes to stop later in the races compared to everyone else.
It prevents the risk of stacking, doesn't it? It means he'll be the leader on the way into the pits this time round. But how long does he fancy sticking inside for? Will he maybe try and take a playoff point while he's in the front and just hope that he can attack on newer tyres later on? Because obviously these guys pitting early, it's great and wonderful for track position in terms of undercutting people, but your tyres will not have as much grip by the time you're fighting the guy you've undercut.
It does allow you to pit later on under a safety car though, and you only lose out on a couple of positions, so it's not the worst way to go about it, pitting early. It is a viable strategy. Corey as it stands, by the way. is on his way to the Championship 5.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Corey and Casper both went for softs on this one, so I wonder how long they're going to stick these ones out for. I'd be surprised if they pitted again, you know, in the next 2 or 3 laps, but they might well just try and go hyper-aggressive as we lose Connor through the triple right-hander. He's on the outside, not entirely sure how that's happened, and Jamie, I think, just got himself in front as I believe it's a VSC came out. And I imagine we'll see a few pitters under this, because these will count as mandatory. But let's say you'll have to get these to the end if there's no safety cars, which of course, it's, you know, it's not guaranteed that you'll get one. But this has obviously put Jake into the net race lead now, because he gets his, well, I suppose, of the one stoppers, I should say. But it'll work out for him in the long run, I would imagine this. So he's taking good advantage of that pit stop.
Yeah, Iceman, Corey, J-Luke, they're all in there as well.
What's happening here? They've all practically stopped on that pit lane exit. Michelle Goris, Ben and Jess. And said, oh, Jamie Wright! And he's speeding on that restart. How much could that cost him? He put the brakes on straight after as well, but it was too late. And Jamie Wright, who had just completed his pit stop strategy, has found himself with a drive-through penalty. Oh my goodness.
Jordan as well with a penalty. I don't know when he picked that up, but Jamie, the important one there, pole sitter and needing to finish ahead of Leroy and Casper.
Jake,
yellow flags, Owen.
What's happening here? Jake's been overtaken. I don't know what the yellows are for. Is that for KK, who's had another spin? But Jake losing ground there to MK Bourne. I wonder what caused that. And it's quite difficult to keep track of all that's going on here, to be honest with you. As we see side by side Ben Spurs and Michelle Goris, and look at them, they're wheel banging the whole way through there as they head side by side through that sector 3. Will we see any sort of switchback from Michelle Goris as he heads towards the triple right-hander? It's a decent enough exit, but new softs, relatively new softs, will do the trick as we see Pete having some sort of issue trying to get into the pits. I'm wondering why he was so slow there, but did he maybe spin through 19? And that'll cost him a lot of time. So Jake will lead. He will probably pick up some playoff points as well, because he did get back in front of MK Bourne, who had briefly got ahead of him before. And these points will be very important indeed, with Jamie in trouble. And, well, where is Casper and Leroy? They're 14th and 15th. We'll see how they progress through the field as this race goes on, as there's more yellow flags.
Strategies complete at this point is Iceman, Corey, Leroy, Casper, J-Luke, Yuri, and I think Kieran as well. So it's all the front runners with the exception of Jake. It's all the big playoff names that have completed their strategy. Maybe that's why they're so successful in the league and still fighting for this championship, Owen, as we are now on lap 4. And yellow flags again.
Thomas Nevitt, could be safety car. And it is. Full safety car then. And that makes Jake's lead a lot less comfortable than it was. And that, obviously, that will, well, it'll help Leroy, because it could put him, by the time this is all said and done, as the front. What happened?
OKK's just spun again. I think he might have some sort of damage.
Yeah, I thought he did. He was struggling quite a lot. But this, assuming nothing's wrong under the safety car conditions, will put Leroy, who has finished his strategy, third on the well, net third. He will find himself, obviously the guy in 5th place in the playoffs. He needs to move up. It'll put him in a very, very good position to do that. Jamie, of course, has also finished his strategy and taken his drive-through penalty, so that will also help him as he gets himself back onto the back of the field. And of course, as you say, under safety car, he can make as many pit stops as he likes to get onto some fresher, softer tyres if he fancies it. It is very, very early though for that. And Jake, yeah, I imagine Jake, do you reckon pick the playoff point up during the safety car, if that'll be any crumb of comfort for him?
He should get it, shouldn't he? You'd like to think. I don't know if it'd be a crumb of comfort, because it's a long way to go. Anything can happen.
Well, it could be a crucial part, I suppose, couldn't it?
KK's still, Owen, really struggling. He must have had someone going to the back of him, because he spun again.
That was a nice one, that.
Yeah, good timing.
Probably should get himself into the pits, though.
There's something wrong with that car. That's not OKK's driving. I
would imagine, though, this is a championship-ending issue. Not that he was, he was already struggling, but minus 17 with that much car damage, it's not going to happen for him. and we'll be about to eliminate Ben Spurs as well. In fact, he's essentially already there, but I think when Jake picks that playoff point up, it will be absolutely gone. And yeah, we're starting to pick the drivers off.
Yep. So coming into this race, we had 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 drivers still in contention to win the title, but there will only be 5 at the end of the evening in 23 laps time. Thomas Nevitt then completes a non-mandatory stop. That's the only one we've seen so far. Every other pit stop you see on the screen is mandatory.
Yeah.
So a few completed stops there, and then you've got the likes of MK Bourne and Jordan and Jess who haven't stopped at all, doing their own thing. They do what they want.
I'll tell you what though, looking at obviously where the drivers are, obviously Yuri has also finished his strategy, as well as Corey. Yuri a decent distance away, but this is the situation that I said to keep your eye on Corey for, because he's in the mid-pack. There'll be a safety car coming, a safety car restart coming up soon. Gareth, he needs to pass him if he wants to be in contention for the race lead, because Iceman is the net race leader at the moment, and obviously, well, Gareth might get in his way. And so, you know, you can see an overtake on Gareth potentially going wrong, and if that happens, you'll see guys behind taking advantage. And I'm not saying it will happen, but just based on how the early season went for him, I'm sure it'll be going through his mind as well. So I'll be very interested to see how he conducts himself. Will he be maybe less aggressive? Will it cost him? Because P10 on his restart, dead centre, not where you want to be.
Not at all. And of course, Corey and Gareth aren't the best of friends either, so that'll be fun next week. Should Corey make it to the Championship 5, it gives Gareth something to talk about, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And
he will.
Oh, he definitely will. He's just... all depends on Corey getting the job done. Nearest rival Yuri is, what, 6 positions back? So that would give Corey a plus 11 advantage. Is that right? Yeah, that would be a plus 10, plus 11 heading through as chase champion at the moment. Of course, 22 laps to go. And its safety car should be in this lap once Thomas and OKK catch up.
Well, KK's going to struggle to catch up. I mean, he's been overtaken by Thomas Nevitt while this has all been happening, and I think he's off again, unfortunately. So he may end up getting left behind on the restart. But we'll wait and see, as I imagine we'll see the lights going off, and well, that playoff point at the end of lap 7. So Jake, it'll be a very important restart. He's going to make sure he just keeps it nice and calm, because that playoff point, he'll need it for later on.
That playoff point would make it plus 5 over Leroy.
Yeah, it'll make a plus 5 over Leroy, and also close him in 1 point on Jamie Wright, just in case anything goes wrong for him later on. He'll want to realistically be overtaking him and finishing 3rd to make sure nothing can go wrong in the championship. But well, hopefully we'll see these lights go off, and yes, we do.
There they go. So Ben Shaw already advanced to Championship 5 next week. Kieran is plus 17. Jamie Wright is plus 7. Jake plus 4. Leroy minus 4. And Casper must win to advance. Currently down in P13 is Casper with his new pedals. Owen Wyatt, take us through a restart around Texas. We've had a few of these in our times, haven't we?
We have
Some
indeed.
More controversial than others.
Yes, if we have it. Oh,
Kieran's had a moment.
Kieran, well, he doesn't want to finish it at the complete back of the field in case miracles happen. Luckily, he's been let back through. But as we see Jake get to the restart line, he can now go whenever he fancies. I imagine he'll take a wide run for that last corner and just bolt. And that's exactly what he's done.
What a restart.
Fantastically done there. As you see Michelle Gorry's all over the back of NK Bourne. I'm surprised he didn't see that one coming, really. But as we go towards turn 1, down the inside goes Michelle. He's been quite aggressive so far today. And up into 2nd place. Nicely done. As we see Jimmy Griffiths fighting side by side with Jordan as they head down the hill. And looking behind to see how Corey's done. He has lost some ground. And Jimmy Griffiths gets himself through. Let's see how Corey's getting on, because there's a lot of fighting happening in front of him, actually. And Jess, as usual, trying to... I don't know why she does this, because she slows down in front of everybody, and it's going to cause an accident one of these days on a restart, as it nearly does actually, as down the inside go a few of them. And I'm just trying to keep my eye on where absolutely everyone is, and where Yuri is in contention with Corey. It's still 5 places between them, so it's not actually gone all that bad for Corey as he heads through. And Obviously losing a bit of ground to Iceman though, but I don't think he really cares about winning the race as long as he's ahead of where he needs to be.
No, winning the race for Corey is non-essential today. Just get the job done, finish ahead of Yuri.
Leroy, however, though,
4 positions of him. Yep.
Leroy badly needs this, and Leroy making this move, it helps him, it helps his brother. It's a win-win situation if he can make it happen, so you would imagine he will give it his all here. These two are both finished their pit stop strategies, they're both making contact as well, and this is where this can get properly controversial. Will Corey throw it back up the inside? You know he will.
Yes, he does.
And oh, he cuts him off on the exit, and now Casper, a must-win driver, getting involved, and he's got to be even more careful, but at the same time he's got to make the move stick as he goes on the inside and nearly makes contact with Leroy. That could have ended in tears there. And he's still all over the back. Nice wee switch back there. And down the inside, no, he decides to back off. He's protecting his car, but he's so far away from where he needs to be. Iceman up in 4th place now, and Casper in only 9th. So, I mean, he still knows where his target is, but he's not anywhere near it at the moment.
Cool. Whilst you were commentating, I was just controlling my breathing there, wondering what was going to happen with Leroy and Casper and Yuri. And of course, Ben Spurs behind, sniffing a potential top 7 behind them. Staying with him, actually. Fair play to Ben Spurs. Not the fastest of these 4 drivers. MK Bourne and Jesse, anyone's left to pit, and Corey sort of gathered himself back up and retaken P7 away from Leroy, who's under pressure from Casper once again.
Both on the ARS, both know how important these positions are. And yellow's behind. I imagine that might well be for OKK again. There's nothing for him to crash into in that section of the place, so he won't bring out a safety car for that. As Pete has a look on MK Bourne for 2nd position down the inside. Like I say, I mean, he could still get through tonight, but it would need quite a lot to go wrong around him. These two both actually could be in contention for it. And there's a lot of fighting in that midfield as Ben gets himself in front of Casper, and Jamie right is side by side with Kieran. Both of these two still not quite qualified yet. And Kieran's in a much safer position. Will he try and help Leroy, for example, and maybe just do a little bit of damage to Jamie? Nothing he can do there though, as Jamie gets himself past. And he'll be now onto the back of the must-win driver, which is a difficult position to be in. As Yuri's off. Yuri's off the road. Good news if your name is Corey. And I think he also went off there in the Kia Series race, and so not a good corner if you're a Hasselager, unfortunately. As Jamie, side by side up the hill, surely gets himself past Casper, and this could be curtains for Casper's championship. And we're seeing Jamie getting through. Casper's not got the pace at the moment. He's being done left, right and centre, unfortunately for him. And this, like I say, really could be it for him this season. But we'll see. Anything can happen.
And Casper looking to go back around the outside as MK Bourne picks up a 3-second time penalty. Jamie does seem to go quite well here. He'll tell you he hates this track, but he's actually very, very good at it. A championship here and a race win here. 2 race wins here. Thomas Nevitt with another penalty as well. He actually made a move on Jess at turn 16 on the last lap. Went unnoticed by the cameras, but a very good move by him on his debut. Casper trying to stay with Jamie and dragging Kieran with him. But Jamie does appear to be making progress through the field, doesn't he? Next up is teammate Ben Spurs, who's making a move on Leroy before turn 12. That's early. Will Leroy come back? No, he won't. So Ben now P8.
And this is the risk for those drivers who are trying to get to the end of the race on the hard compound tyre. They don't have the grip. These mediums do, and that's why Ben is making the grind up. As you say, Jacko, he's not the quickest out of these guys, but you wouldn't think that based on the tyre compound. There's nothing against Ben, but it's proving my point as he, well, nearly spins through there, but it's proving my point that they need another safety car, these guys who are there to the end, because this could go back in Jake's favour. In that case, as Jamie, whoa, nearly ends up facing the wrong way there by trying to get himself past Leroy. He does though make it stick. And will Leroy think about it back up into turn 1? A little bit of revenge. He, like I say, well, he needs to be careful, but still doesn't want to risk too much as Risky falls down a few positions. The thing is, for Leroy, he does have to fight back. If an accident happens, but he's got to at least try, hasn't he? Because right now, this championship is not happening.
Not at the moment, and Jake is dominating this race. Alright, he's still got a pit stop to make.
7 seconds, wow.
But look at that, in what is it, 4 laps he's found 7 seconds. and that's with Iceman closing in on Pete. So maybe you'll get a truer reflection of the pace of Iceman versus Jake once he gets past his teammate. But Jake is looking very good. Leroy's now under pressure from Casper, by the way.
And Kieran's in there as well.
And Kieran.
Will he try and help Leroy? I don't know if there's any way he can, but he is on the inside of Casper. He's going right round the outside. Really nice driving from him. Will he be able to keep that thing alongside and surely pull ahead now of Leroy into the next corner as Jamie spins off Risky? Will there be a stewards investigation into that? I'm sure the speed team will be all over that one in the stewards later on.
Yeah, we'll see. I didn't actually see the incident myself. I just saw Risky facing the wrong way. Speaking of team speed, the man who could win the chase tonight, Yuri, is down in P16 and struggling to make any sort of gains into this race since his issues. This corner, actually, a couple laps ago, Jake leads another lap now. That's 7 of the 11 he has led in this race. And Jamie Griffiths makes a move on... Oh no, they're pitting. I do apologise.
Yeah. And okay, that guy slowly has to go. He'll be getting lapped soon, and I mean the car is all smashed up to pieces. No wonder he can't drive in a straight line. But it is worth pointing out he will find himself under pressure later on. Hopefully, it doesn't create too many problems when he gets lapped. But you just never know. If you're not in control of your car, that's where things go pretty badly wrong. And Jake, by the way, I mean, at the rate he's going, when he pits, he'll be able to come out and just catch and pass people anyway. So I do think he'll try to get to lap 14, pit, get both playoff points, and eventually he'll probably end up leading the most laps as well. And it could be the first driver to win 3 races this season. All going very well then, as Jamie tries on the outside and Corey gets himself through as well. So moves happening for the drivers who need to make them stick. And Corey now, let's see if he can make the sort of the gap that he needs just to be comfortable. Because for the first time, you can see a lot of clear road in front of him today.
Which he'll like. But yeah, isn't it mad? We've got to round 16 and we still only have drivers on 2 wins, not 3 wins yet. That shows how competitive it's been on this new game with this new rules package.
Ben, does he hit anyone?
Oh, he does!
And Leroy's out of the championship. And it's a safety car as well. And that is such a shame, isn't it, to see a race end like that, a championship end like that. And Casper, he'll have a chance to move up the field, up to 6th place now, because of all this. And, well, he now knows that there's one guy in front of him that isn't going to be a problem. I'm sure he'll be secretly quite happy to see that happen as well, because Jake now does lose out. I'd argue, well, I mean, who pits in this? I mean, who does this benefit? I don't know. I really don't know. It almost throws the cat amongst the pigeons, this.
1 second, Owen, I'll be back with you.
No, as they all head round then, this also gives OKK a chance to not cause any trouble when he's getting lapped, because he was about to be lapped by Jake. And Jake, he'll be seething right now, surely, because he's had a lead hacked off him after Ben had the accident with Leroy. I feel like he hit someone else during all that, did Ben, but I didn't see anyone else scampering off into the pit lane with damage. Obviously, we saw a few non-mandatories. I mean, possibly Gareth was involved? I just don't know. But
So, Kieran, Gareth and Mike, their pit stops there under review. Michelle, Goris, Yuri and Risky definitely taking non-mandatories. But I didn't know. All I saw was Ben's spinning car. However, Jake, despite only having 1 stop to his name, it's not really the end of his season because Leroy was involved in that crash. It relies heavily on Casper winning the race.
Yes.
Like, he has to. There's no other way through for Casper. He has to win. So even if Jake pits and ends up 17th, it doesn't matter because Casper has to win. That's the only way Jake is eliminated.
Yes, but look at this. This is where Casper has a chance, and where Jamie also has a chance. Obviously, Jamie doesn't need to win this race, but he still needs to, not let Casper win it. But what these two are doing, they're pitting new tyres, something which Jake can't afford to do. And well, if Casper wants to win this championship, this has to work. This has to work. And we need to see the Casper from Spain, who was able to come from the back to the front have even spun to win that day. We need to see that Casper for the second half of this race. And that'll really make it interesting between Jamie and Jake. And we also see Yuri, of course, now has a chance to get back into this. Although there is a car still off. Yeah, it's risky. So he's put new tyres on. I'm hoping he hasn't got diffuser damage, so I'm going to have to Jamie hit him. Because I believe he was hit by Jamie. It was hard to tell from where I was watching, but it was convenient where those two were for the spin to happen. And if Risky can't get the car wrong in a straight line, it would suggest that there is something wrong at the back of that car. But I'm sure we'll find out after the race. But that'll be two speed drivers, you know, involved with stuff. So they're doing their best. But it's a shame to see Leroy end up out of this thing. But at the same time, it would have been a bit weird to see him in both championship fires, wouldn't it? So
his brother still might do it just yet. You never know. Well,
he would need a Gareth-esque masterclass, quote unquote masterclass, to make this one happen. But this is so fascinating. The drivers with the best tyres out there who can go to the end are Casper and Jamie Wright. If anything goes wrong for Jamie Wright, he'll find Casper with him in the Championship 5. I mean, this is so fascinating. And the safety car is not going to come in for a wee while yet because the field isn't really packed up yet. Jake will pick up a second playoff point, and that will, yeah, well, it could still be vital, I suppose, if he ends up in a fight with Jamie right at the end of this thing. But in theory, it's really simple. It all depends on what Casper gets up to.
Yeah, we won't overcomplicate it with playoff points and how many positions so-and-so needs to be behind someone else. If Casper wins the race, then either Jake or Jamie will be going out. So Jake, on his way to leading the most laps led, he's led all bar 2 so far. So what's that? That's 11 laps. He's going to get stage 1, he's going to get stage 2, so that would give him 3 playoff points, which puts him level with Jamie on points. So
not again.
Of course. We had this on Tuesday, didn't we?
Yeah. Only the 3 of us level on points.
Yeah. They're quite incredible how the 3 of us, the seasons, we've had 3 totally different seasons, and somehow ended up on the same points. You know, Jess with her win, I had the win but missed a couple of races, and Lesty hasn't won a race but he's missed a few races. So, you know, arguments for all 3 of us to make that final championship 5 spot. But it just shows the power of playoff points once again coming in. So if Jake can get another, maybe the fastest lap playoff point, that would put him ahead of Jamie Wright by a single point. So Casper winning this race could potentially knock out Jamie Wright. Just yet. So it's so much yet to happen. We are now halfway through this race as well. Jake will pick up stage 2 playoff point this lap.
Interestingly, obviously Jake, Pete and Jordan will end up moving out of these guys' way at some point to sort of, you know, do their next stop. Is Jamie Griffiths finished his stops?
Jamie Griffiths, where am I looking? P5. Jamie Griffiths is complete.
Yeah, so he'll be in that fight as well. All 3 of them on the hard compound tyres. And the lights aren't actually going off yet. Maybe they're leaving it quite late, but when the top 2 get out of the way, it'll be 3 hard runners, and then the 2 medium runners, and that'll be that 5 fighting. And the guys with the oldest tyres, if the safety car does stay for one more lap, the guys in the oldest tyres will be the ones at the front of this thing. And that's the way we like it, because it makes it so unpredictable. And of course, it means Corey sits there in that second place, saying the race leader, who would be Iceman, right in front of him. And again, what does he do in that situation? He lost ground on that last restart. I mean, a win would absolutely do it for him, and by a distance. So, I mean, Corey's he's got to make sure he doesn't smash the car up, though. That's the problem.
Owen, would you like a little stat, as we are now at that time of the season?
Yes, please.
No stage points available in Miami, as we all know, which means the most stages won this season is a 4-way tie So Ben Shaw, Kieran Spears, Jamie Wright, and now Jake O'Sullivan, all on 5 stage wins this season.
Only 5, that's impressive.
Only
isn't it?
5. You know, we're used to seeing sort of like 10, 11, 12 wins it normally. But yeah, it's shared by 4 drivers.
Well,
which is quite incredible.
That is just incredible to see how competitive in the league really is.
That's 20 stages, which is 10 races where they have dominated the stage points. But you know, behind them you've got Corey's won 3, Casper and Tez have won 2, Jamie Griffiths, OKK, Connor, Mike and Ben Harrett all with 1 stage win each. So that it's been very open this season.
So I would like to know why the safety car didn't pit, apart from OKK I suppose, but surely the game will recognise this lap he's not going to catch up, because I didn't really see a reason for that thing not to come in, unless it fancies giving Jake the most laps led today, as it does say it's coming in at the end of this lap. I mean, Jake, to be fair, if he leads the next lap, he would take that, wouldn't he? Most laps led. So, or did Jordan lead one as well, actually?
Jordan and Jamie Wright both have 1 each. So
yeah, he'll need
what,
2 more than laps.
He'd need 1 more, because it kept this most laps led playoff point can be shared by more than 1 driver.
Yeah, so
again, 1 more lap is enough for Jake.
Again, it might not matter, but it's worth just putting all these out as we see Jake, who nailed the last restart, of course, coming to the final corner. But I'm always tempted to watch Corey and Iceman, because that'll be the fight for the actual sort of race lead when these two pit. And look at Pete's restart. He's a bit closer, but still not great. And Corey's lost a lot of ground. He's already falling down behind Jamie Griffiths, who's on better tyres than him. And down the inside he goes in towards turn 1 to try and fight back. You've got to be careful. This is where your accident happened last season. And
here comes Jamie right up the inside. Can he make it stick on Corey Owen? No, he backs out sensibly.
Doing the smart thing there, because Casper's now the car directly behind him, and surely he knows. And he's going for it. Here comes Casper right round the outside of Jamie Wright, and he must win this race. And making that move might put him in a position to do so. This is a huge moment for Casper this season. This is on now. It's properly on. Yeah. Oh, he's nearly off though, as he tries round the outside. Oh, and Jamie Wright's coming back at him. Oh, this is tense.
Casper's going to have a go on Corey
here.
Go
for it, Casper. He's doing it.
Jake and Pete both need to pit still to complete their mandatory stops, but will Casper get Corey down into turn 12, into the braking zone they go. Casper thinks twice about it, but he is there, isn't he? He's there.
He's there, but he's got to go for it. He has to. Maybe I'm being too impatient on him here, but I'm sure he knows what he's doing. So let's just leave him to it as he tries around the outside, and he'll get the exit, and there he goes.
What a move! Can he make it stick though? Yes, he can.
Jamie Wright.
And Jamie Wright looking up the inside of Corey. I'll tell you what, here's a scenario for you. Yellow flags, Owen. Ben Shaw would not be opposed to having Casper in Miami next week.
He would
over Jake.
I think well, will he mind that? I mean, if he sees him sailing past him, he might not be too pleased. But here comes Jamie Wright, side by side, on the way up the hill with Corey. Corey, who just has to keep his nose clean, remember. He doesn't have to fight too hard for all this. And Jamie Wright gets through. Kieran in 6th place. He's happy enough where he is. He'll be getting through pretty easily as it stands, unless anything really dramatic happens, although all his rivals are cycling to the front, aren't they? So, I mean, that's actually not really helping his case. And, well, Jake, 13th place, new tyres. Let's see how far he can get. And let's see how quickly Casper can get himself on the back of Jamie Griffiths. There's no DRS for the first 2 laps after a restart. So that means we're going to have to wait until lap 18 for him to be able to open that rear wing. But will he be having to overtake 1 or 2 cars? Because he's all over Jamie Griffiths, and he knows that 3rd sector, he can make it work there with the fresher, softer tyres.
Yeah, and it's worth reminding viewers at this point, before it gets too intense, that a win, regardless of your point situation, you can be plus 19, plus 20, it does not matter. A win will advance you to the next round. So it could well yet come down to Jamie Wright versus Jake O'Sullivan. 3 championships between them. Casper looking at making Texas 2 seasons in a row a must-win, turned into a he did win can he get Jamie Griffiths and Ben Shaw soon and then streak away, because Jake is looking very fast on those mediums behind as he starts to catch up to Jess. It could all happen and come to...
Ooh, look at this. Jamie
fastest lap, yeah, so he's flying as well.
Yeah, but Jamie Griffiths is now into the DRS range of Iceman. That could be really important. Because, oh, big lock up for Casper as he just about gets into turn 1. I was wondering if Jamie Wright would have a go at him. And you've got to look after the tyres at this stage as well. Don't be blowing these up when you're trying to push too hard. But if Jamie Griffiths gets himself into DRS and stays there,
and here
it'll
goes
give him a chance. No way through there,
Ooh.
surely, for Casper, but you can see how much more confidence he has. But where's that DRS detection point? It'll be on the way down the hill, the next corner. And
Jamie Griffiths at the moment.
But the problem is, it won't help him because, yes, he gets through, but there'll be no DRS to do it with. And this is Jamie Wright's opportunity, surely, to get himself back in front, to stop Casper getting into the Championship 5. Oh, and will that mistake prove too costly for Casper? Because, yes, it will. This will be the easiest move of his whole race, this for Jamie, surely. Side by side and in front. And will Casper come back?
Jamie Griffiths on the inside?
He still doesn't fancy it, and that's costing him because he's not aggressive enough. But look at the exit. He's surely going to go back up the inside. Contact. Got to keep it pointing in a straight line. No matter what Casper does, he has to win this race. And he's under so much pressure to do so. But passing Jamie Griffiths at the wrong point is proving absolutely vital as it stands. And Casper, he's got so much more work to do, and he's not got any ERS to do it with.
And all this is doing is inviting Kieran into the battle as well, as Ben Shaw extends the lead from well over a second now. So he's looking comfortable out front as the three behind him battle. Who does Jamie Wright want to fight in Miami? Does he want to fight Casper? Does he want Jake there?
Well, he's about to find out. He'll be about to find out, because Casper... If Casper comes sailing past, he'll suddenly be sitting there thinking, do you know what? I actually don't want you in this race, and he'll fight him back. And that could put him at risk, of course, because if it goes wrong, and he ends up in the wall or something, we've seen it before. There's a lot for Jamie Wright to think about, a lot.
There is.
Yeah. And it's the top three, all in the DRS of each other, and Iceman on those old hard tyres, he's going to get railed in here.
He is. So it was 1.2 seconds at the start of the lap. It's now 0.8, and they're both there. They're all within 1.2 yellow flags. It's OKK at the back. It doesn't matter. He's recovering to the track as Kieran gets past Jamie Griffiths. Will Jamie stay and dive into turn 12? No, he won't. So the fight is at the front, and this is what decides the Championship 5 next week. Race 100, Miami. We've been counting down all season long, and it's building up absolutely perfectly, but we don't know, Owen, who's going to be there.
I tell you what, Jamie Wright, give him the opportunity, he will be straight past Iceman. I wonder if Iceman will even fancy a pit stop or something, because look at how little pace he has. He has to do something if he wants to win this race, and in fairness, he's not really got much to lose, because he's already qualified, and Jamie Wright is going to be all over the back. Don't get too close to him, though. You don't have to back off on him and get put under pressure, but look at the run he has up to turn 1. And Ben does defend, possibly a bit too much, but down the inside, there goes Jamie, and look for the cutback. Will there be anything from Iceman? I don't think he has the grip for it. And this is it then. Jamie Wright, he's got to get his foot down if he wants Casper not to be in the Challenger 5, and that is, like I say, and as you say, the decision he's going to have to make in, in 8 laps time. Yeah. Who does he want through? Because he can make it happen.
But now, Owen, who does Ben want in the Championship 5? Because he could quite easily let Casper go and say, go and fight Jamie.
I don't think he's got the grip to decide that one, Jacko, because here comes Casper. He's going to save himself this time. He's learned from the last time he tried to make an overtake too early. But the problem is, Kieran will happily fight this one and get himself through as well. He also has to think about who he fancies fighting. In fact, if Jamie Griffiths just gets himself out of the way, we could have the top 5 in the championship running in the top 5 in this race. That could be a fantastic way to finish this one. As we see Casper going round the outside. Oh, it's risky, but he's got the grip for it, and he's up into second position, and so this is it then. Who do they want in this Championship 5? What does Casper want? Will he have the grip to make anything happen if he wants to? As Kieran gets himself through, and Jamie, this is a fantastic scrap. Jamie Griffiths up into 3rd place, and we see Kieran trying right around the outside, a risky move. But he's already, he's not already through, but he's got to be careful anyway, just in case it goes wrong, and yeah. the right thing to do there. Just being careful and not having a silly accident. As Yuri, by the way, Yuri, look at this. Yuri's going to be easily through to the Championship 5 at this rate, because Corey has no tyres left and a penalty. That sort of crept up on us, but Yuri is in a box seat for this.
We didn't even see Yuri recovering, though, as far as last
Saying
time.
that, look at this, here comes Jake on
P16.
the inside. Jake still needs to get himself a move on in case Casper wins this race. I tell you what, one more safety car, oh, that would properly get this one excited, wouldn't it? This is teeing itself up to be an incredible finish.
Jake and Yuri is not the same battle, but if Yuri's got any ideas, he should follow Jake and see where it gets him, because Corey, it's not done. Remember, the gap to Yuri is +4. And that is 4 on-track positions. Risky, an MX-type pit further down. J-Luke has opened up a gap of 1.6 seconds to Casper, who has a 1.1 second lead over Jamie Griffiths. And Kieran still hasn't passed Iceman yet. But are Casper's tyres done? Or is he just building up for something at the end? What does Jamie do? Because he really has all the cards in his hand. Do you want Jake or do you want Casper in that Championship 5 with you?
I think
and he has the power.
At the minute, Jamie Wright is just too quick, isn't he? I mean, Casper's got nothing that he can fight with. It was that move against Jamie Griffiths, wasn't it, that ended up possibly being critical. Although saying that, if Jamie Wright keeps moving away like this, maybe he would have got him anyway. But yeah, we'll see. It is in Jamie's hands as it stands.
Yeah.
And
Jamie,
okay, just moving out of the way, everyone there, in case you're wondering.
Oh, Casper's had a moment. He spun on the straight.
Well, that's.
And here comes Jake then.
That's a disappointing one, isn't it, to see that happen, because that does take all the stain out of this, unless we get another safety car. And so it's all going to be about this man we're on board with, Yuri. How is he going to do against Corey, whose tyres are going to only be getting worse and worse and worse?
Yeah, well, if Corey can get it to the end and it stays like that, he'll be absolutely fine. He's got nothing to worry about. He'll be the chase champion of Season 6. Taking that crown from others that have come before him. Jake O'Sullivan last year, Ben Shaw, Jordan Lane, they've all won it. But there are 6.5 laps to go here in Austin, Texas. It's gone really quite fast, hasn't it, Owen? But it's still not quite decided just yet. Kieran gets
like
by Iceman.
Looks like a yield if I've ever seen one, and he's going to now come back. Was it a clever yield? No, he's still yielding. And they're all boxing Corey in. He nearly makes contact, and Corey, oh, he must be feeling the pressure now. He will have seen Yuri's name pop up on his HUD a few moments ago, and oh my goodness, he's in the middle of Gareth and Iceman. Gareth, who could still win this race, he's got some pretty good pace about him, and oh dear, look at that. Corey's been stuck now behind Iceman, and that could be his championship, because it's cost him a good 5 seconds, that incident. And Jake, I tell you what, Jake could also still win this race. Is there damage on Corey's car? No, but he still loses the position. And Casper's in this as well, but Jake up into the top 5. He's got the best tyres out there, and well, let's see if he can get himself up towards the front. Will it be Jamie or will it be Jake who win their 3rd race this season? It looks like it's going to be one of those two, but more than likely it'll be Jamie Wright. But he could have the same mistake that Casper did. You just never know. But Yuri, he's almost within the 3-second gap he needs to be to get in front of Corey, but that's not all he needs. He needs to be ahead of him by a couple of positions. So Corey, if he just keeps his head here, could still be okay.
Yep, absolutely. But he does have Casper, a recovering Casper, all over the back of him. Corey's certainly no match for Jake at this point. But Casper has got his head back on. Looking for a strong finish to the season, at least. He's had 3 or 4 awful weeks on pad. And I think he'll come back next season and look to finally make a Championship 5. Yellow flags are out for Risky, I believe.
Oh, yeah. And Yuri's up. Yuri can now get his foot down. And that yellow flag is still out, as Risky just about gets himself recovered before the leaders get into this. But Yuri has some superb pace, and he has the clear track in front of him. As unfortunately Risky makes another error. Luckily not hitting the wall in any of these moments, because that could bring a safety car, a bit like what we saw with Connor. And Casper still not able to make the move. If he makes the move on Corey, that'll be when Corey starts to get a bit worried.
Yes, but he still has 4 positions plus countback in hand. Countback being the race win, of course, but should Yuri win this race and Corey only second, then Yuri advances on countback. But that is assuming that Corey gets the fastest lap playoff point.
And Risky nearly find the wall there, you know. They're flirting with the safety car, I'll tell you. As Risky gets himself back onto the road. And he'll get in the way of that fight for second place, which is getting close between Jamie and Gareth. And again into the wall, but not frontwards. If it was frontwards, that would have been potentially safety car. That's how tricky this situation is for these guys. Yuri's not got the same pace that Casper has. And so we're only going to really see how much Corey's in trouble once he gets overtaken, and you would have thought that'll happen on this lap. And these guys really are now pushing this, as Jake's been off the road as well, and I wonder how much he's not done any damage, but he's put himself out of contention there, hasn't he? As Casper, this will be for 5th place then, and he should get this one done, even though he hasn't got ERS though. He's not got any ERS left, nor does Corey, but the closing speed's not massive. As they head down, there it is, and that'll surely be him through now. I think Corey actually let that one happen.
And look who's right behind him on track. 7 seconds apart, but
yeah, but look at it. Right, it's a train of 4 cars that Yuri has with him, or a train of 3 cars. But he's, you know, the leader of that. So if he can drag them up to Corey, that will do it. He'll finish 6th. Corey will finish 10th, and I believe that'll be it by a point.
Oh, Risky's just spun in front of him.
Oh, and he'll be recovering in front of Yuri. There he is. Yep. Yuri is closing the gap, by the way. It's not by much, though. It really isn't by much. And I'll tell you what, Pete as well will probably get him, as will Jake. Down the inside of the last corner. This will give Yuri DRS. And Pete, he'll probably get him, let's say, as he heads towards turn 1. Last thing that Yuri needs is actually a big scrap like this. He would have rather led these guys to the end, and it's surprising to see Pete sort of fighting against his speed rival, but he will just have to let it happen. Up into 8th place. This is working for Corey, you know. He's got 4 laps. Just keep his face in the right direction, and it's all happening behind you. You might be okay on the oldest tyres on this track.
And there's a yellow flag. Risky again. It's got to be diffuser damage at this point, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're nearly out of time for safety cars to be brought out. So we're losing that risk ever so slightly. But mind you, it could still take 1 accident on this lap and it could happen. As Kieran, down the inside on Jamie Griffiths, gets himself up into 2nd position. Decent stuff from him there. And Gareth nearly into the penalty zone of Jamie Griffiths as well. So a podium could still be on for him today, which is good from his strategy point. As actually, Jamie comes back at Kieran. And this fight will continue on, or will Kieran just let himself slow down, because that'll put Gareth nicely into that 3-second window.
Be good for Gareth to finish the season on a high
6
before he joins us in Miami.
6 seconds.
Is it 6? Okay,
Yeah,
he's well inside then, isn't he? Not enough for Casper though.
I was
He
wondering
still
if
needs
that
to
could
win
have
this
been.
race.
I tell you, these guys are properly flirting with it, aren't they? As Pete has now gone off, and that's a front wing gone. Like, I mean, it could be a safety car, but they're not going to put one out. And these guys are properly getting away with this, as we see Jamie and Kieran off the road, and there's another car off as well. This is all going off around here, but no one's bringing anything out, apart from the penalties. And yeah, it's quite hard to keep a track of this, really. But all I can say is that all the fighting going on between Iceman, Yuri, and Pete has absolutely destroyed Yuri's championship, and that'll be a pretty frosty team speed meeting after this race, I would have thought.
You would think so, wouldn't you? Pete Knight in pits, by the way. Jordan sets the fastest lap. It seems to be all settling itself down now, doesn't it? So Jamie Wright on his way to a 17th race win. It'd be a 3rd here in Texas. As
Kieran's getting
retires in the pit lane.
Kieran getting a bit tricky there with Jamie Griffiths, but I tell you what, Jamie Griffiths is fighting this one very well indeed, considering the age of his tyres. I was saying that with where Kieran is, his tyres will be going that same way, because they're obviously a starter compound, they'll degrade quicker, but Gareth's the one who has the pace out of those 3. He could sniff a P2 out of this one, so we'll give it a hand.
Jamie Wright, by the way, is struggling on traction on the corner exit, a lot of these corners as well. So even though he's building his gap, it's not sealed yet. Despite me saying race win number 17 is on the horizon with 2 laps to go here in Austin, Texas.
Jimmy Griffiths doesn't defend this one up towards turn 1. Is he confident in his exit speed? He is. He's going to come back alongside. This is a terrific scrap as they go down the hill, fighting for second place on the road. Of course, Jimmy Griffiths has just cost himself more time. He'll finish 5th place in the end of this thing. Although I suppose he's not in any contention for anything. He's just fighting for the hell of it. And Gareth right into the DRS range, and so it sets up our fight for the end of this race. Oh, look at the rear end sliding for both of those two. But riding on board with Gareth, he's got a fun view of this one, because he can just see these two struggling quite a lot. I think he will be sticking his nose in, because he's also got nothing to lose. As yellows come out again.
Yeah, Gareth actually under review for lap 10 pit stop, possible non-mandatory. So he'll have to prove footage, because I don't think he's going to be pitting again, is he? But he knows the rules, so you'd like to think if he's confident enough in staying out, he will. Oh, there's a penalty.
That's an interesting line there from Jamie Griffiths off the road to come back and fight, and he's still side by side. And now Gareth will just be trying to find a way through. As again, another switchback for Jamie. There's no way he goes around the outside of the triple right-hander. He's not got the grip for that. Nor does Kieran really to fight it. And it'll be all that DRS down towards turn 1. Can Jamie Griffiths fight himself back? Will he even go for it into the last corner? I feel that might be move done for Kieran now. It will be.
There is 1 to go in Austin for Jamie Wright. 3 wins in a row at this track, which is a JACKOCAR first. Should he get to the end of this lap without any issues. Gareth now up into the podium positions on merit.
Yes.
Casper sits P5, Corey sits P6, it's looking good for him. Jake's recovered to P7. Yuri is not going to win the chase today, it would appear. And Jess, despite today's earlier disappointment than you usually got, actually runs in the top 10 in a Cup Series race. What a great effort there.
Well,
although Jordan is right behind her.
Because Jordan will probably get her as well, I would have thought. There's a bit of a fastest lap competition actually going on in the lower sort of positions there, as Jordan does pick up that P10 from Jess. But at the front, it's all Jamie Wright, and well, he made that second stop. He picked up a drive-through penalty coming out of the pits after that second stop, but since then, taken it, moved himself back through the field,
and Gareth's from Kieran.
And Gareth's gone way too late on the brakes there. That's not going to stick for him, but fair play for trying at least. But do remember that Kieran is still not technically qualified yet for the Championship 5. Oh, he's going to go for it anyway. That's going to be an accident. Wow, good avoidance there from Kieran. But I think this fight will keep going to the end, and I don't really know when to cut off this one. We're going to quickly see Jamie Wright crossing the line. It's a third victory this season. He's through, and he spins across the line to celebrate. Kieran stays in front of Gareth, and he's already weaving to celebrate. He's through to the Championship 5 as well, and he will cross the line in P2. Yeah, a very happy man indeed. And Gareth on the podium. Well done to him. Casper misses out. That spin earlier on, well, it's cost him. It has cost him dear. But still, a good fight back, considering he spent all that time without the wheel to come back and finish P4 in his return. Jake, another driver into the Championship 5, our reigning champion, will have a chance to defend it. Corey, the winner of the chase behind Jimmy Griffiths, who was very entertaining last couple of laps there at the end. Yuri just misses out, finishes 1 position behind Corey. Iceman, our last driver through, although ironically he was also our first driver through, but you know what I mean. And Jordan will be the last of the top 10 finishers. Jess will be 11th, and who has the fastest lap, I wonder? Because I imagine Pete will probably try and nick it off Jordan, but we'll wait and see.
Such a Pete thing
as
to do.
side by side across the line goes MK Board and Michelle Goris, who has the fastest lap now. And let's see Pete then. He's 1.9 up so far on his best time, so he needs just, 2 more tenths to do Michelle's time, and I would have thought he would do that by some distance, considering Michelle was fighting on that last lap, and indeed he has done. And so Pete even beats him as well. Thomas Nevitt will be our last finisher. OKK finished a while ago, but he was lapped. Yeah. And there we are then. Chase over, playoffs over, we have our Championship 5. Race 100 is ready to go.
Yeah. And special shout out to Gareth, who also has his own Championship 5 seat right between you and I.
Poor man.
But yeah, Championship 5 then Ben Shaw, Jamie Wright, Jake O'Sullivan, Corey Dalton, his second appearance, and Kieran Spears.
And that's his third appearance in a row, isn't it, in the Championship 5 as Kieran's. Like I say, he's a driver who keeps somehow going under the radar, but another strong race today. When it didn't look like it was going to happen for him, although Jamie Wright's performance was quite frightening. Of course, Iceman was up there as well earlier on with the strategy ended up not quite working out his way, and Corey had decent pace, but again the strategy fell for him. And so I think a lot of potential shown from the Championship 5 drivers that they are all in contention for this thing. And so it'll all come down to a brand new track for the Cup Series, brand new track for everyone. Miami, the Championship 5 in America for the second time. And we will see, hopefully, a new champion. No offence to Jamie, but it would be quite nice to see someone else crowned. Although he does always like those even-numbered season victories, doesn't he? So we'll have to wait and see. Weird to see Jamie won from pole today, by the way. Doesn't feel like it, but he was never at the front until the last stint. But there you go.
Yeah. 9 wins from the 5 drivers. 9 wins this season collectively by the 5 drivers going to Miami to fight for a title. J-Luke on 3, Jake and Ben on 2, Kieran has 1, and Corey has 1.
And so then we will leave you with that one then, and so stay tuned basically, because Tuesday will be the Kia Series Championship 5. Very much looking forward to that one. Jacko's also very much looking forward to that one. You won't be hearing from him unless, of course, he wins the title, in which case I might as well have a word with him. But yeah, you'll see that on Tuesday. That'll be me and Gareth in the box, which should be very exciting indeed. But let's not try and undermine this, but I'm going to say it anyway. The main event is next Thursday, and we haven't just got the race. As you know, we always do, well, Jacko always does a pre-Championship 5 show. And yeah, it'll be the best one yet, I can guarantee you that. So do stay tuned for that on Thursday. I'm sure you'll find all the information you need on that on the JACKOCAR Twitter. It's
a 2-hour long feature-length build-up. I think Kia Series also gets its first ever pre-show build-up. That's about 45 minutes before the race. But yeah, 6 PM start, or 5:45 start UK time for the Cup Series build-up. And then there's an 8 PM kickoff for Miami in the Cup Series. A late start for JACKOCAR. A first, where it's not been 7 or 7:05.
Just to make it difficult for us. Nice.
Just so we can say we raced under the lights. How about that?
Yeah.
Those being bedroom lights.
100 races, and he decides that's the time to change the schedule. So yeah, do be there for next week, because a lot of work has been put into it, and obviously a lot of the drivers are looking forward to racing in it as well. It's a lot of fun to be had. So yeah, join us next week. You'll hear from me, Jacko, and Gar quite a lot, I would imagine. So safe travels. Hope you enjoyed the race tonight, and we'll see you next week.